1 minute past 11. Let's get started. So welcome to all of you to our new release webinar. This time for our summer release 26.3. We are super excited about this one and have lots to show you today. As always, we will do the questions and answers at the end. You can ask your questions in the chat interface or in the question and answer interface of GoToWebinar. You can ask the questions both in English as well as in German, and we can answer them also in bilingual. So that's totally fine. With that, I would like to kick it off and introduce the speakers of today. You also see the four of us. I think most of you know me already. I'm Jetro Bosch, the Chief Product and Technology Officer. We have Marco Schotka, our Director of Product, Rick, Director of Engineering, and Jan Kunkler this time, our Principal AI Engineer, because there's lots of AI capabilities to unpack, and we're very excited to show all of those to you today. So let's dive in. And look at the highlights of this release. So the key features that we will show you today are the three you see on the screen. So first of all, we will take a look at Pathfinder Automapping, which means AI-assisted generation of mappings. Secondly, we will take a look at our platform portal, which provides all of our customers who run in the Lobster Cloud with full control over their cloud instances. And finally, we will take a look at our new platform API. It's just the first step on a longer-term journey, which makes our platform, let's say, programmable for AI agents and other third-party tools. And of course, you have a lot more smaller improvements, which we'll also mention along the way. Now, the challenge we typically see with our customers and as well as with our partners is that every organization is running a lot of digitalization initiatives now, more than ever, I would say. AI projects, onboarding new training partners, being resilient in this fast-changing world in the supply chain, but also internal system upgrades, for example, a new ERP or cloud operations. And all of this work lands on the same people in the IT teams, meaning that these teams are becoming a bottleneck at our customers. So all of this disciplined work goes to the same group of team, the integration team, and it's very hard for these teams to keep up. So it takes days to create certain mappings. Sometimes you're waiting maybe for our support team to open up a firewall if you're in our cloud, which means experts get stuck on routine work. And the result is that these teams cannot always keep up with the demand that the business has. And this is what we would like to improve further with this release, because we feel a lot of the manual work can be automated, so everybody can focus on the more high-value tasks instead of the routine plumbing tasks. So the goal of this release is to remove some of the heavy lifting, so the IT experts have more focus on more complicated, valuable work. With Pathfinder Automapping, we remove the need for field-by-field manual mapping in many cases. So days of mapping becomes hours of reviewing. With Platform Portal, we remove the time it takes to wait, for example, on support tickets to get handled if you want to open up a firewall or restart a server in the Lobster Cloud. And with Platform APIs, you can automate work typically done by humans in the user interface. So each one of these new capabilities removes a certain type of manual work. And that's all underpinned by the quality of life improvements that we have also done in this release. The end result is that teams can focus really on what matters. So really working on edge cases, on real business logic, on completely new integrations, and build more on top of our platform. That's the goal, what we want to achieve with this release. And the first big thing here, and I know this is something a lot of our partners and our customers have been waiting for, is Pathfinder Automapping. To talk about that, I would very much like to hand it over to Jan, who knows a lot more about this than I do. So Jan, I would say take it away.
Thank you so much, Jetro, and welcome everyone also from my side. As you already heard, we are very happy to announce to you the first release of our automapping feature. And this is, of course, one of the features that was one of the most requested over the last, I would say, year. And we are super happy with what we have for you to share right now. The team has been hard at work, and the first iteration allows you and your teams to automatically create mappings from source to target fields. So it's the same UI. I will show you that in a second. So nothing new to learn, same no-code UI that you have. And we keep to the same mantra that we have for all Pathfinder features, which is we want to keep the expert in the loop, which concretely means Pathfinder generates something for you, but it's always only just a suggestion. And it is still on the experts, the humans in the loop, to then review these suggestions and to then validate before anything hits the live system, the test system, or production. As Jethro said, the goal for us here is to take the integration work, the structural mapping work that underlies each integration from days to hours of review. And without further ado, I would say let's just see it in action. If I move over to our data platform here, you should see right now that I have a couple of test profiles for you. Let's begin with this one. And the important part is all of the automapping initiative lives in phase 3. So this is the same view that any of you already know. And this is one of the example structures that we have prepared for today, which is a basic SAP-like mapping onto a target structure. What you will now see is I have some pre-mapped fields here already. For example, customer number and company name, and the rest is still empty. So the task here is Pathfinder picks off from where you leave it. So you can start from a completely blank slate. You can say I have a partially mapped profile already. Pathfinder takes it however you give it, and then you can find a new button up here right now, which is the Pathfinder Automapping button. If I hit that, you will see a new modal pop up, and the first step in our automapping process is to select if you want to start with a test file. Those are the same test files you have for your existing profiles. In this case, I will use a test file, or with Pathfinder, you can also say, I don't have a test file yet, or I don't want to use a test file for this mapping. Then you can hit the check mark down here, and Pathfinder will continue without a test file. Let's start off the process. And what now happens is Pathfinder is going to retrieve the profile at its current state. We call it the intermediate state, and is going to now analyze both the source and the target structure. This, of course, takes a few seconds. Depending on the size of your profile, it can take up to 3 minutes for really large profiles. For smaller profiles, you will see we are more in the ballpark of 20 seconds to 30 seconds. And then it is going to come back to you in a bit with the list of suggestions. And you will see that this list of suggestions is split into confident matches, into matches that need your review, and into matches into no matches where Pathfinder says there is nothing here to match from the source structure onto this target structure. So here we go. And as you can see, for this specific profile, Pathfinder has found 37 confident matches. It has still maintained the 2 matches that we already created before that. And that is an important part. You can always see that indicated by this icon here. Pathfinder will never overwrite what a user put there. So it maintains what you put into the profile and it picks up from there. It will never overwrite anything you have previously. And you can see for this specific profile, there are also 8 cases, so 8 fields or nodes where there is no match. But this can be intentional because, as you very well know, not every value in a target structure necessarily has an equivalent in the source structure. For confident matches, the review is pretty quick because you basically go into this view down here, into this tab, confident matches, and it then shows you I have found these mappings. So as you can see, the customer node up here was mapped onto the KNA1 match. And you can always then ask Pathfinder basically, why is that? And Pathfinder has this little tooltip here where it gives you both a confidence score and a rationale behind this decision. It is then on you to say, I agree with that rationale. Then you can keep this match checked. Or you can, of course, at any time say, no, I don't think that is correct. And you can just uncheck it. And as you see up here in the node, this folder becomes blank if you unselect and is highlighted if you keep that mapping. Let's scroll down a little bit, maybe to the language. So in this case, we have a mapping from the customer language field to the target field in the KNA1 structure and SPRAS. And we can ask why it did that. And it goes back to us and says, this is an SAP language key, and it is a direct semantic match to language. I tend to agree with that, so let's keep that as well. You can then go through each of these, or you at some point trust Pathfinder enough to leave it and say, these are indeed confident matches. The more important part is where Pathfinder isn't so sure, so where it needs you as an expert to review, and it tells you the exact same information. It says, I think there might be a match here between external ID and xref. And if you click on it, you also jump to it right here in the tree. And the rationale then tells you, I am not so confident, only 72%. This is likely a reference field, but please double check. And you can then say, yes, this is indeed correct. I want to highlight this, and you will see then your manually approved expert insights as yellow up here. You also have the cases of no matches, so you can also review those to see which ones didn't it not find anything for. It is not going to give you a rationale. The rationale is there is no matching source field here. Let's assume I went through my review in maybe an hour now for a profile like this, maybe a little less, and then I say hit approve and apply. Pathfinder is going to say to you, this is what you are going to apply. So up until this point, you can see it in the background, the profile hasn't changed. And this is now the final gate for you to approve, yes, I actually want to move these changes over, these suggestions from Pathfinder over that I have now reviewed. And if I hit yes and apply, then Pathfinder is going to write it to the profile, it's going to reload the profile. And if I open it back up now, you see now, just as if you would have mapped it yourself, these fields have now been connected. You can also see this in the consolidated view, of course, if you want to see the links. These are the links that were now created by Pathfinder. And maybe to show you one other case, I can, of course, now save this to show you one other case, which is the CAP connector, which many of you will be aware of. Pathfinder also works fantastically well with the CAP connector. And this is one of the big profiles where you very much know it is a canonical type of profile. So many fields aren't really necessary to be filled for any case, but you have the same option to start Pathfinder with it. Select this test file, in this case, this one, hit continue. It's going to go off, but now it has a gate for you and says, this profile is pretty large. Those of you that have been working with our CAP connector know this is a profile that has, I think, 400 some fields. Pathfinder is going to tell you, this is a very large profile. I can still try to give it a go, but the quality might be less. So this is an experimental gate. So we here again have you as the user in the loop saying, do you want to continue in this experimental mode for this really large profile? If I hit continue, it's going to jump into the same window. It's going to take another 30 seconds probably here. And then we will see the same review flow. So we then have confidence suggestions, need review, no matches. And we can apply that as well. And in this case, I can also show you the test data that is then flowing through the UI. So if we give it a second here, this is the general flow. Let's hope it comes back to us in a few seconds. Again, the time it takes to compute is, of course, relative to the number of fields. Nice. So in this case, it came back to us and says, yes, I have mapped this freight order onto the CAP connector. But in this case, the interesting part is you can see 360 no matches. And this is intended because this is the canonical structure for the CAP connector. And for a freight order, you only need a very small subset of all of these fields. And Pathfinder does handle this natively. And you can also see in this case here, the test data that you selected is actually also displayed here. I don't think I showed that in the previous view. So you can see shipment ID has been mapped, and this is the value that you would receive on the output structure, just as you would do in the actual phase 3 test run mapping. Let's say we trust Pathfinder enough to validate this, apply it, and then we have our updated profile fully mapped and ready to go with the CAP connector. And just to show you, this is what I mean by the regular mapping. You know this. I can select the same file, and then I get the exact same output that Pathfinder has just showed me in the Pathfinder UI as well. So we built on top of the UI. We hope you guys like it. We are super excited for it. Let's get back to the slides. Because what this allows us to do, and let me clarify, this is only the first iteration. We are going to continue supporting this and to build on top of this. What this allows us to do is to, of course, take the time it takes to create a mapping from days to hours. But what it also allows us is the experts to actually focus on where it matters most. So not on the very easy cases that are just manual work, but on the actual edge cases and the actual logic that might have to be applied on top. And of course, as you would expect, this compounds with every project. So every suggestion that you accept or every modification that you make, Pathfinder learns from it. And over time, it will get better and you will have to do less and less reviews, meaning your time will be more and more able to be spent on edge cases. We are super excited for you to get your hands on it. And we have lots in store for you coming over the next months. this is it for now. Let's get it over back to Marco.
Thank you, Jan. Awesome demo, by the way. And I think it's also important to underline that we're constantly improving this model now, right? So this is something who runs in the background from our side. So there's no additional update on a new version needed from your side. Yeah, if we improve the model, you will see it instant because it lays on our side. And yeah, we learn day by day at the moment. So it's really amazing stuff. Let me come to another highlight for this release, and this is our new platform portal exclusively for our Lobster Cloud customers. So we want to give you and your customers, you as our partners, more control about our Lobster Cloud, so that you can really aligning firewall management. You can see in the audit log what happens in the systems. You can see the load. You can restart the server and have a more direct control about anything what happens in the Lobster Cloud and in the instances of the Lobster Cloud, instead of every time reaching out to the support if you have a question or you need a modification. So that's why we had this project started, and now the first version. I'm really happy to announce that today it's available immediately for all of you and for all of your customers who are already running instances on the Lobster Cloud. And you will see an invite from us really soon where you can access this. But having said that, let me directly move to my colleague Rick, who give us our demo about that.
Thank you so much. I think you should be able to see my screen. As you can see here, we are in the platform portal. I'm here logged in as a Lobster customer, but like if you are a customer, you of course see your own name here. And you can see I have a couple of different environments assigned to me, and one of them is this release webinar test environment that I'm going to log in. If I click on it, I will see all the different resources associated to it. So I can see this particular instance has a node controller, a DMZ, and 2 databases. I can also see the installation ID. I can see the public IP, the private IP. And if I click on it, I will see some more details. This is nice because, well, we often get the question, what exactly is the IP? Because we want to whitelist it for our trading partners. Now you can look it up here. The next thing I can do is I can hit restart. If I go to restart, I can basically trigger a restart. So I can say, which system do I want to restart? Do I only want to restart the DMZ, only the node controller, or everything? I can force a hard restart. So we build in some logic to say either it's like graceful, so we don't, or we wait for executing jobs to finish, or we say no hard restart, something is wrong. I can give it a description. I could even schedule it for a certain time of date. So I restart it, for instance, tonight. And if I want to, I could even say I restart it, let's say, weekly. And of course, I can have some history. I can see who restarted it. I can see, was it successful? Did it fail? So you know exactly what happened. You can click on it, can get some more details. So as Marco said, no more need to talk to support for restarts. You can do it immediately. If I then go to my firewalls, it's exactly the same. So I can see all the firewall rules that are active for the system, and I can see exactly which ports we've opened for which IP ranges. So if I want to take, for instance, my admin console and I want to restrict it to not be available for the entire world, I can type in my own source, or I can type in my own IP address. I hit save, it's automatically applied. And from that moment on, I've restricted the access for my admin console. And it's something that you can spec for all the different firewall rules, both for the DMZ as well as for the inner nodes. If you get any compliance question, you can also hit the download rules and you get a full export of all the open firewall rules, because we know we had to provide this list more than once. And lastly, if I go to monitoring, I can get insights in my health metrics. So I can see information like CPU usage, memory usage, network input IO, and I can see, for instance, the disk usage of my node controller. I can see lots of information here on also like the query performance and the connections on my database. I can see the storage, the utilization on my database. So really, we make sure that you get insights in everything you need to manage this system. And since we're talking here to partners, the idea is customers can get self-service access to their own systems, but we've made it possible that a customer can request access for all their systems to a partner, so it can be shared with you. It's something that right now needs to go through support. In the longer run, we make this self-service, but we are able to grant those permissions to you as well. Last thing, if I do create a restart, as you expect, people want to know that this happened and that it was successful. So of course we send out email notifications. And I would say with that, back to you, Marco.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the comprehensive demo. And you already mentioned that, Rick. So this is just the first step in our plans to give more power back to our partners and to our customers, especially in context of our Lobster Cloud. So there are way more stuff in our chain at the moment. But yeah, let me sum up what you get right now with 26.3. So you can act in real time. There is no extra cost for it. And you can also control the whole environment, restart the whole cluster or a single node in your own pace. You can also define really nearby maintenance windows. When you want to have the maintenance windows, you not stick on the maintenance window we define and support anymore, and away a lot of more stuff. So really awesome stuff. By the way, if you have questions to that, feel free to reach out in the chat. I think we have enough time in the end to ask or answer a lot of these questions to that. Okay, let me go to the next topic then, and this is the new platform API. So we asked ourselves the question, what is needed in times of AI and to make our customers and our partners happy and to stay relevant in the market? And this is one of the next steps here on the other side to Pathfinder, that we say we have to open up our platform and make it reachable programmatically, so that you with your own scripts or with your own solutions, with your agents, or also your customers can really reach out to Lobster on the programmatic way, on an API way. And we're not talking about providing an API for your systems. We are talking about really to manage Lobster itself, so the platform itself through an API. So this is the way behind, or the thought behind the platform API initiative. And in 26.3, we start introducing the first relevant endpoints for that, for profile API, partners and channels. And we have way more to come, right? So at the moment, this is read only. You will also see a demo right now, but there's way more to come, way more on our plans. And by the way, if you have priorities here, or you have something in mind you really need, feel free to reach out to us, because we will definitely make anything what we have in the UI accessible through the API on a long term. But the priorities are really can also be defined by you, by you, our partners. So which one is more important than others? And having said that, I think, Rick, another demo for you.
Nice. I will hit share my screen again. So before I dive into the actual platform demo, I think it's nice to show like one or two quality of life improvements. Marco will talk about it later. Jan already showed it, our new dark mode. I think it looks really, really cool. At the same time, if you don't want to use dark mode, you can of course also switch to our completely new light mode. Also looks really slick. And from there, I can start to use. In my demo, I will show an example about partners and channels, but I will also show something around profiles. Namely, I will use a profile called Get CRM Customer Information. If I now want to view this, maybe also side by side with some other things, I hit Open a New Browser tab. And this is something that you'll see in more places in our application, and it allows you to open it up in a new tab. And as you can see, I have it here as well. And it's not only opening it just in a new tab, but it's also putting it in the URL bar. So that means I can actually create a bookmark out of this and make sure I can get back to it. Some of this was already there. Some of this we reintroduced with this release. It's really useful to know that this is out there, because I know lots of people use this. And there's always this button. You can copy the link to share to every individual screen or thing we have. Having said that, now I've showed you we have this Get CRM Customer Information, as well as that we have this demo partner channel. Let's see what we can do with an API. So our platform API is something that we've released with different kinds of authentication mechanisms. So on one hand, you can use machine-to-machine communication. You can use UI session bearer tokens. You can create guest login tokens, which means you can, on one hand, say, I want to do something fast with all the permissions I have, or you can actually make sure you create dedicated credentials that can only do certain things on certain data. So we make sure to include, let's say for profiles, our access control mechanism in there, so you don't access more profiles than you should access. In this API, properly documented by Swagger, we currently allow you to get information about profiles. So you can get all the profiles, you can get a profile by ID, you can get all the channels, you can get all the details of one channel, and you can get all the partners. We are working on write access to this as well, but right now this current version starts with only read access. And because this has a open API spec, I'm able to, well, either use it here in the Swagger UI, or I can actually go into a tool like Postman, Bruno, or anything else. And in this case, I take the partner API endpoint, I hit execute, and I can see I get all the partners in my system. And if I copy over the ID, then I can basically say, if I clear the screen, I paste in here my partner ID, I hit send, and I can see that I have these two channels. I would say this is integration as you are used to, but now on our integration platform. But what is really cool is I could also say I have this Swagger specification, and let's actually do something that is a little bit more fun. What I can do is I can open up Claude, and I open up Claude Code, for instance, and I can give it a prompt like connect to the Lobster data platform through this API specification. I have in this case my credentials already pre-stored, and now I tell it, I ask it to tell me which channels there are for the demo partner, and for because I actually trust my Claude, I will say let's turn auto mode on. What it's going to do now is it's going to do some thinking. It looks for the credentials, and it will, of course, find the credentials. After that, it will start to connect to the API. So it says, let me fetch the OpenAI specification to understand the structure. So of course, every time we add a new endpoint, Claude can deal with this. And now it's reading all the documentation we have done, and it will figure out what it can do with that particular specification. Then as a next step, it will start to do something with this specification. So it says, hey, we have partner and channel endpoints. Let's first find the demo partner and then list its channels, exactly like how I showed to you in manual. Now it found the demo partner, it fetches its channels. So it's calling the next endpoint, and it says, hey, we have two channels, both are active, and one is HTTPS and one is FTP based. And I can probably ask it, give me more details on the FTP shipment channel. And I can just start to type and interact with my data. And this is really cool because you can start to build your own integrations. You can prompt it. You can include it either in like Cloud Code or in Cloud Desktop or any other AI tool that you might have to start bringing the Lobster data platform closer together with everything we have. The other thing I can do, I already showed the example of CRM, is I can ask it the question like, what is the target structure of the profile with CRM in the name? So now it will actually start to do some thinking around these profile endpoints. And as you can see, it's calling some endpoints here on the profiles. It needs to interpret the data. It says, whoa, we have quite some profiles. Let me find the one that actually has CRM. Now it's automatically creating the right things to make sure it can interpret the JSON, can do the right interpretation. And now it says, oh, actually, I found it. Let me extract all the structures. And once it has it, it will actually showcase me exactly how this works. So it will show me what the structure of this particular profile is. And just to be clear, this is not to replace Pathfinder. Like, we use Pathfinder a lot to get like the best experience with AI inside our user interface when humans are doing things. But we also know that there's customers that say, we want to build against the Lobster data platform. We want to build integrations, either manually or using AI. And that's exactly why we did this. Marco, back to you.
Awesome. I think I already look on the chat, and there's obviously a few questions when we have the write access as well, as I already said. So we're currently working on the write access. I think we will have it soonish. We target to have it the latest in the next LTS release, who is in October. But we are currently also working on a way more endpoints, right? So also on assigning a profile to a channel, for instance, and something like that. So this is just the first start, but you can see how that works and what's the concept behind here. And yeah, we will improve it, I think, over the next releases really soon. So let me sum that up. We can automate end-to-end with the new platform capabilities. We can build agents, or you can build agents for your customers who really act with the Lobster data platform. And yeah, as I said already, we grow this in every release. So the target here really is that we give you the full power you have in the UI, also programmatically over the API in the future, but on a really secure way. That's why we also take our time to make a proper write access available. So then let me jump to the last point for me today. This is our quality of life improvements. So these were the highlights, but we also invest a lot into make our software easier to use and yeah, make your life easier for you and for your customers. So you maybe already saw the new design system in place. So we have now a proper dark mode who also sticks and who also stays and is saved. There is no black, no blue coloring mode anymore. So it's just the dark mode and the new light mode. We have bookmarks back, they work again, and you can work across different tabs again and can also bookmark that. But in addition to that, we make a lot of improvements also on other topics we launched over the last versions. For instance, Trading Partner Manager is now also able to speak with HTTPS channels. We can authenticate over OpenID and OAuth 2. We have a new AMQP connector in place with OAuth 2 authorization and a new protocol version out of this. So this will replace the current OAuth 2 AMQP connector pretty soon. At the moment, both exist on the platform, but we will deprecate the old version, obviously. We have invested into our design system. So if you're now using our orchestration capabilities, so the former Pro capabilities, you can also leverage the new design system there. So it's a more beautiful way to create forms and all that stuff. Our process map is now able to also export into different formats. So if you have a complicated process to visualize and you want to store it somehow for your documentation, you now can really use the process map and export it to PCG, PNG, CSV, or also JSON programmatically if you want to deal with that again. And yeah, and all of them is available since yesterday, or since Tuesday. And this is exactly the point where I hand over back to Jethro. Jethro, over to you.
Thank you very much, Marco. So let's take it over from here. Here we go. Yes, so indeed, everything available from earlier this week, and we see our first group of customers already upgrading, which I think is great. So this will all be available for everybody who is on our data platform license, of course. And what's important is all the things you saw today are included at no extra cost. So it's part of the Lobster data platform subscription for you to use. The cloud nodes will be upgraded by our cloud team on our regular update cadence. So with that, I would like to look a bit towards the future. So what else are we planning now, right? Because our engineering team is already full swing ahead on the next release, our autumn release 26.4, which will be an LTS version. We have lots of things cooking, but I want to highlight 4 things. First of all, we are happily researching in automapping to also include functions, because what you just saw with our automapping capabilities is mapping the fields, right, that you saw Jan do. But of course, you also want to be able to generate functions in the future. That's one of the things we're researching. We're also researching other topics like mapping sub trees of the tree, so you have a smaller set, which makes it faster and even more reliable. So there's different types of research going on for automapping. Secondly, we want to make also a big step forward in Pathfinder for our orchestration part of the platform. So think about generating maybe custom types or portals or forms or various alternatives we're looking into. But for sure, we will release capabilities in that area in 26.4 as well. Thirdly, like Marco already said, we want to expand our API coverage, both in terms of breadth, so multiple endpoints for different parts of the platform, as well as in depth, meaning, let's say, writing to channels or things like that. So those are all being researched, and eventually we also want to have an MCP server around it, so you can very, very easily integrate this in OpenAI or in Claude or whatever it is that you use. And fourthly, we are looking at improving our user and role management capabilities. It's quite elaborate now, and we want to make some simplifications to make it easier for you to use. Those are just 4 highlights. There's for sure more coming. If you go to our website, you can find a roadmap publicly available there, which allows you to upvote features, submit new IDs. And you can also see there in much greater detail all the things we have in mind for 26.4. The release date of 26.4 is mid-October, so stay tuned for that. Feel free to look at our website, the roadmap is there. Now, if you think about the future, I want to make one thing clear, which is how we look at Pathfinder. So the last releases you saw step by step adding Pathfinder capabilities. So last release we spoke, for example, about generating and explaining cron-top expressions or doing things around, for example, generating database queries or regular expressions. So what we actually do is look at the full life cycle of developing, also building and operating integrations along the supply chain. And all along that life cycle, we want to embed Pathfinder in how you do your daily work. So it started, I would say, I'll take my highlighter. It started here with generating cron-top expressions, for example, but we move all the way around this life cycle of building and operating. So now we have released creating automated structures in the data mapping, but there's much more coming. So every step of the way, we will invest in helping you to be more effective, faster, and using our data platform, using Pathfinder in every step. So this is, I think, an important, let's say, outlook towards the future. Much more is coming release after release. We are definitely not done yet. We have a lot of great things coming up over the next few releases, and we will keep communicating about it transparently. So with that, I would like to wrap it up with some calls to action. So first of all, we have our Lobster live sessions executed by our TSM team. The next one is on the 28th of August, and we will talk about platform operations, meaning how can you monitor the data platform, whether it runs in our cloud or on the customer's cloud or on-premise, through Grafana and New Relic, so through third-party monitoring solutions. We will show you some dashboards, how to set this up in a live session. It's free for everybody. Feel free to join. I watched these sessions myself as well, and it's very nice to see how deep into the product we can really go there with our best experts from the TSM team. So register today. Please join us there. In September, we will talk about advanced logging and error handling around profiles. And in October, we don't have a Lobster live session because then we will have a next release webinar. And then in November, we will talk about APIs and services, including MCP and API management in general. So please bookmark these things in your calendar. We're very happy for you to join. It's free of charge, available for everybody. They are also recorded and published in our academy if you want to review them later or share with colleagues. So please join those if you're interested in in the technical details behind the scenes. And then final news, I would say, before we jump to the questions, which is this. Many of you have joined our big Lobster Summit last year in Munich. And we will do another big one next year in Frankfurt. And we're super excited. This is the first time we really share it publicly like this, now with all of you as partners. We'll have a very big Lobster Summit again. It will be the biggest event we will ever have ever done. It's in Frankfurt this time. It's also 2 days, or 1.5 days, I should say, where we have main stage keynotes, but also many technical breakouts. So we can go much deeper on the technology there in all kinds of demo and live development sessions, many tracks in parallel. So I would like to invite all of you to bookmark this event as well. It's June next year, plenty of time to think about it. But you can pre-register already online. We have space for 1,500 people. So the sooner you register, the better it is. This is coming, so stay tuned for this. There will be much more news about this in the next upcoming months, but it promises to be a very, very nice event. With that, I would like to switch over to the Q&A and invite Jan, Marco, and Rick, let's say, back to the stage. Before I dive into the questions, one final, let's say, housekeeping. You will get an email after this session with some requests for feedback. So we would love to hear your feedback on this webinar as well. So you will get a survey in your email. Please fill it in because we use that feedback to improve these sessions. With that, let's kick it off with questions. I see plenty of them coming in. First one.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
yeah. Yeah. So the first one, I think, Jan. If I look at it, the question is: does the Pathfinder Automapper work with complicated files and complex logic? Because this particular partner has huge XML files with a very deep nested structure.
That is a great question. Answer is always, it depends on how complex your structure actually is. We have limits in place. I've seen another question to that. So the current limit is it's going to give you the default experience up until 300 target nodes. After that, above 300, you will see the window that we saw in the demo as well, where it's going to tell you this is getting large, I can still try anyway. And over 700, at this point, we say this is out of scope, but will be increased in 26.4 release. And we also have seen other questions regarding more structures like edefect, etc. We are aware, we are already working on that. It will also be in 26.4 that we then do offer support for at least edefect and potentially even additional industry standards. We will keep you updated on that. It is already being worked on. Not right now, but coming in the next release.
Perfect. Oh, so while we have you on Pathfinder, I also see a question. What happens to the test data that the customer provides? Right? Because you can enter the test mapping, test file, for example. Is it shared with an external AI system? How does that work? How do we make that secure?
Yes, it is shared with an external system. It is also shared with an LLM. That is exactly the reason why we have the option to map without a test file. This is explicitly for you. This is opt-in. You can select a test file. If you do, it is both run through our internal system as well as through the LLM we use, which is running in our Bedrock architecture in AWS. But it will then be exposed to an LLMs. But same policy as with every other Pathfinder feature. The training data is never learned on. That is the guarantee we have in place thanks to AWS Bedrock.
And I think in addition to that, we pseudonymize that, right? So we anonymize and pseudonymize that. So if we have training,
we try as best as we can, but we cannot guarantee 100% here redaction, which is the exact reason. If you do have very confidential files, feel free to just hit map without test file, then you will be safe. Of course, giving it a test file likely increases the chance that it gets it right, same as you increase your chance if you have a test file available.
Yes.
Yeah. I will post right now, I think everybody should see it, the link to our documentation where we have statements around how Pathfinder in general works from a security and privacy point of view. All of that also applies to the automapping capability because there's a generic architecture behind the scenes which does all of these things. So feel free to read it there. We will also continuously update and improve on that, of course. Marco, I see a question here. I think Jan answered it partially already. When do we get IDOC and edefect automapping?
As I already mentioned, and Jan mentioned that as well, so we constantly improving at the moment our way of automapping, and this is in the background, it lives in our system, so there is no update needed in theory for that. So it could be that tomorrow we have a better model version available as today, but the big move we plan was IDOC and EDFACT for 26.4, so in October. But I think you see the limits there. You see when you go in this experimental area, and we are working at the moment to improve this day by day.
Yeah, exactly. So continuous improvements behind the scene. I think I saw a question about the limits. The question was in German. I think the limits have been also made clear by Jan now. So that's also answered. There is another question, I think, Jan or Marco. The question is about ADFACT. So we have, of course, a field number limitation, but what if the file is smaller? I mean, it's not that we hard block it, right? It's more like the accuracy might be limited. How should the customers interpret that?
That is correct. We do hard limit over 700 fields. Below
Exactly.
that, you're free to try. If this question is especially about EDFACT, if you can basically cut down your EDFACT to only the parts you need, and those fall below the limit, then you are free to test. If you put in a full EDFACT, it is likely going to be in the vicinity of 2,000 fields, and then it's going to run into the limit.
Yes. This is where we are working on at the moment.
Yeah. Another automapping question for you, Jan. Can you tell us more about the automapping AI model? So is it custom trained by Lobster? Do we use open source models? Does it get processed on the client systems or in the cloud? I think you alluded to it already a little bit, but I think it doesn't hurt to be very clear about it.
Of course, happy to. The document that Jetro shared with you also has more info on that. But as I said, Pathfinder models run in the cloud, in our AWS, powered by AWS Bedrock. And this is the same for this model. It is a model that we especially feed additional data to. You can consider that fine-tuning if you want. It is a technique of fine-tuning, but it is not de facto our own model. It lives on top of a foundation model that is provided through Bedrock. We empower it, so it is also running in the cloud, never on the platform. It is running the same as Pathfinder, connecting to our AWS. We process it and we send you back the result.
Yeah, cool. Then I have a final Pathfinder question, at least so far in the chat, which is about if it can read an already mapped profile and generate documentation out of the logic built into it. I think it's more, Marco, maybe you can take it, make it more forward looking, like we just had a more roadmap discussion even this morning about topics like this. Maybe you can make a statement.
I think this is an obviously next step then, and definitely have that on our radar. Priority-wise, it's not addressed yet. We probably will handle that to the beginning of next year. So, but this is, I think, the obviously next step if we have all the ingredients in place that we then also create documentation out of this.
Yeah, one thing we can add is you can already document function change on an individual node level. If you go to the function list on the right, there is a Pathfinder button there. So that documentation is already there. But Marco, so of course, we're also looking at wiring it all together. So for the function change, for the full mapping, and you can see where that's going. For us, it's more a matter of prioritization on how we do that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's maybe looking at the topics, switch a bit to the platform portal. Rick, maybe this one's for you. Is the platform portal only for users that are on the Lobster cloud, or is it also for self-hosted instances?
It is only for users on the Lobster cloud. So everything I've shown to you works on the Lobster cloud if you have a normal standard instance. For own hosted instances, we don't, because we can't connect to your system in this way. We do have other capabilities, like for instance, the monitoring you see is the same data that we send over OpenTelemetry. So you can build your own dashboard with your own tools for this. It's this, and the restart capability with the graceful restart uses the capabilities that we have released in our previous release inside our platform to basically go to the platform and then view and change your system and restart it from there. That will use the same graceful mechanism. In this release, as part of the smaller improvements, we are also looking to see, can we actually show you an overview of the different nodes of your cluster with their status. So we are doing some small improvements in the product here. However, this part is really to make sure you get the best experience in the Lobster cloud without having to call Lobster support.
Yeah, exactly. So what I did, I pasted in the chat the link to our observability chapter in the documentation so that you see how you can get data from OpenTelemetry protocol. And this is exactly also what the Lobster live session will be about on the 28th of August. So if you're interested in how do I monitor through Grafana, New Relic, Datadog, those types of tools, our platform, when you run on-prem, or by the way, you can also use it in the cloud. Look at the observability link or join that session. I also shared the link for the system research, which Rick was talking about. Maybe that helps if you want to see more details. Let's see, I see questions about the APIs. Marco, the question is, for the channels and partners in the endpoints, are they compatible with the old API we previously had on Lobster Data? And additionally, is there a flag and security implemented for also getting passwords?
I think, Rick, we both have to answer that.
Yeah.
I think now it's not compatible. It's a breaking change. It's a new concept. We also have, we will also switch in the next version to more resource APIs. That could be that we have schema changes in the different endpoints, but we announced that upfront. The reason is because we have a new architecture in place and we have to deal with that. I think for the security one, Rick, maybe you can answer that.
Yes, so passwords are not exposed through the APIs, as far as I know. I think this is a very nice feature request to at least make sure you can override a password, just like you can do it in Trading Partner Manager. I think this is something we can take home. Reading passwords over an API, I don't think is a really wise idea. No. If it's about the old API, the existing APIs that were also in the data product, like currently they run side by side. Yes. The future is, of course, that we're gonna replace it here.
New one is a breaking change, so to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so the old one is still available, but you can imagine we will take that away in the foreseeable future. Yeah. So we have now one standardized track to build much more APIs. That's the goal, effectively. Let's see, some new questions coming in. One I can take. Was kost het die deelname am Summit? That is free. So I can try it in German. Das sind keine Kosten für Teilnahme auf die Summit. I hope that was acceptable for the German listeners in the call. I am learning German. Follow me on Duolingo if you want. But it will be free of charge. So everybody can join our summit. Partners, customers, it will be free of charge. Because we want to see as much of you there and engage directly with our community. So I hope that helps. Another question for Pathfinder. Let me see. Will the Lobster AI chat get a function in the future to operate in the mapping itself? Like you could natural language wise add a function or a variable or change a phase 6 setting. It's a combination of Marco and Jan, I guess. Who wants to start? Jan, go ahead.
We do have plans for that, and we are technically prepared to do that, but it is not there yet, and I don't think it is on the roadmap for the next release. But we will have an overhaul of the Pathfinder chat experience to interact with all of these new capabilities that we are now slowly introducing.
Yeah. So what we have on the roadmap for 26.4, Jetro mentioned that already, that we will improve the mapping also on the functions and also handle sections of a document. This is, so to say, next up. Anything else will follow.
Exactly. With that, we've gotten to the end of the questions so far. We would like to thank all of you for your time. Just to remind you, you will get an email with a survey. So we really ask you to fill it in because it helps us to improve these sessions. There's also a recording of this webinar, which will be shared. We are going to work hard on the next release. Well, the rest goes on summer break. And are very happy to go to a next release webinar in October. I see one more question coming in. Let me quickly look at that. Can all of these new features be installed through an update, or is there anything we need to do? It's a nice question to be able to end this with. Yes, you can install this through an update. Our Lobster Cloud customers will get the update installed automatically in the next few weeks. If you're not on the Lobster Cloud, you can download it through the Update Center. There's nothing more you can do. It's a regular update, just like anything else, any other previous updates and patches you have installed already. So if you're up for it, you can even give it a test run today or tomorrow. It is available. It's a matter of a standard update like you're used to.
But you have to be on the old, not on the old version.
Yeah, so basically from engineering, we always make sure that on the release notes, you see exactly what is in the update, like in the notification, you'll see it, and from the update center, you can get there. And then there's upgrade notes with the different scenarios. I always recommend read it. In this case, there are some minor things, and there's, I think, one performance feature for HA that is opt-in. So if you want to get access to improved high availability performance, you need to do something. But if you click the update in the Update Center, it works out of the box.
Yeah. I pasted the link to the release notes as well, so you can look at all the details down there. If it includes the system restart portals, a follow-up question, yes, access to that is also included. So that's the centralized component which runs in our cloud. You can get access to that as well, absolutely. And this is being added to our documentation as we speak, so I cannot paste the link yet, but there you will also find how you get access, where it is, etc., etc. So we will make sure that becomes very clear soon and maybe add it to a Q&A also on our website. But yes, that's also available.
Yeah.
With that, I would like to thank all of you for your time. We are looking forward to the next one already. Feel free to take a look at our roadmap on the website, upvote features, submit new IDs. Your feedback matters a lot to us. Thank you all, and to the next one. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.